Yipee-Ki-Yay, Mr. Falcon.
Bonus content.
What's going on over there? Put the gun down. I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
Because I envy your normal life.
Put the gun down, baby.
It seems that envy is my sin.
Oh, what's in the box?
Oh, you motherfuckers. Okay. All right.
Welcome back. Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mr. Falcon. How you doing today, Tom?
Fantastic.
We're in kind
Jesus.
of a weird mood tonight. It's going to be interesting.
Oh, boy.
Welcome. We're doing something a little different tonight. I guess we're going to call this What If, I guess, like the old comic books, you know?
Yeah, man, Marvel does it. Why can't we?
Yeah, they're running out of ideas. They're going to be doing it in movies and shit now. It's great. It's simple. The premise, really. A lot of times in a movie's development, there's a lot of casting decisions that don't end up following through to the final production. Like one actor is in mind for a role and he's like into it, and sometimes they're even cast, and it just doesn't work out. So what we're going to be doing with this series is perusing those almost words and talking about what if. Like, what if that actor had that role? How would it have changed the film? Would it have been better? Would it have been worse?
Yeah, that's the big question. Would it be better or would it be worse? Are we glad they did it the way they did, or are we pining for that thing that could have been?
Yeah, and these are good, relatively good films, if not landmark films. I mean, who gives a shit if, like, they almost cast Katherine Heigl in some horrible fucking horror movie that never, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was looking at shit on the internet, and I saw a bunch of shit. It was like, so-and-so was almost in Mean Girls. Isn't that fucking wild? And I was like,
Yeah. You know, I see those too. And, like, I think sometimes, you know, it's worth a passing thought. Most of the time, it's like, who cares? But I saw one in particular where I kind of did a double take. I was just, like, scrolling on my phone for no reason in particular, and I came across this headline that said, Denzel Washington turned down the role of Detective Mills in the David Fincher film Seven. He almost, yeah.
So that's Brad Pitt. That's Brad Pitt's role.
That's Brad Pitt's role.
Right.
And I thought to myself, man, we almost got prime 90s Denzel across from Morgan Freeman in what is arguably like a seminal film already, just as is. And it kind of struck me like, I don't know if I could think of like a movie that's that good and then have the thought of, wow, I really think it could have been better if Denzel had been in that role. It said he regretted not taking it.
Oh, it did?
And it's not it's not to take away from what Brad Pitt did, because he's great. But I think Denzel in that role, I just got the gears turning like, man, that would have been awesome.
See, I've never heard this before. This is new to me, this whole thing. I didn't know that
I never heard it either.
He turned it down, huh? Like this is what Fincher wanted? Like this was it. This was the plan.
I don't know if it was the first choice, but it was definitely like offered to Denzel before it went to Brad Pitt.
Okay. Interesting. I guess we're going to assume that Morgan Freeman was already cast.
I think so. I mean, maybe, but like the thing I read didn't go into like too great a detail about who else was going to play who, but that was the one that stuck out as like, wow, like what? Just imagine how different that movie could have been. But I also think it could have been really, really good.
All right, so why did it catch your eye? What about this idea gets your gears turning here?
Well, I think it's the fact that like that movie is already very, very good.
Yeah.
And like you say, like you come across these things all the time, and typically the response is who cares? And in that particular instance, I just think about like how dark that movie is and how complex a role that was, and just that era of Denzel, I think would have, I think it would have worked very well in that role. And just thinking about how explosive, Mills' character is applied to like what we know Denzel can bring to the screen, on top of one of the things I'm a big fan of with Denzel Washington is he just knows what to do with his face when he's not speaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a good reacting actor. He is very good at that.
He is very good at just being on screen and not talking. And you could you could almost look at his face and just know what his character's thinking. And he does a ton of acting without speaking, which I think would have brought a lot to that role.
All these actors we're talking about have a real screen presence. They have gravity. They're all leading men in their own rights. Morgan Freeman included. So that's kind of neat. So, all right, so let's take a look at the differences. Brad Pitt, when he did this, he was like 32-ish when he filmed.
He's pretty young.
That's when Seven came out, so he was like 31 probably when they were making it. There's a big difference between him and Morgan Freeman. So he really had a very, when those two were together, there was a very, if not father-son kind of thing going on. It was definitely like an uncle-nephew thing going on because of the age difference. Mills was depicted as not exactly wet behind the ears. Like he had 5 years in homicide, he said. He'd seen some shit, but he was still very young in his mind. And it was part of the plot, too. Like he was quick to anger. He was impatient, a lot of the times, really charged forward and didn't think as much as he should have, didn't consider as much as he should have. And I guess mostly that kind of led to his downfall. That's a different conversation. But you got this really cool dynamic where it was almost like Morgan Freeman. What was his character's name? I'm missing it for a second.
Oh man, Morgan Freeman's character.
Yeah.
I don't have it at the front of my mind. For some reason, I can remember Mills.
Somerset.
So
Somerset really does have he takes on he's a different kind of cop, I guess. He's even like the black sheep in his department. You can tell from the way people react to him when he's at the beginning of the movie, when he's supposedly going to be retiring and leaving the force in the city, we assume. And that's the other thing, too. This city, it's not a real city. It's never named. It's not supposed to be a real city. It's just a fictional.
They never name the city?
No, they never name it. It's always raining.
I always thought it was like Chicago or Detroit.
Nope, they make a point of never naming it. They never name the police department. It's just a nameless, shitty, rainy city. So, okay.
Oh, boy.
So this is 1995. At that time, Denzel would have been about 41. So that's a pretty big difference. It's 10 years difference, right? So I guess to get an idea what version of Denzel Washington were we looking at that could have been in this film. He had a big year in 95, assuming most of this was filmed in 94. In 95, he had Crimson Tide come out.
That was great.
Virtuosity, which was that sci-fi flick with a young Russell Crowe, if you remember that. And
that was a weird one.
Yeah, it was weird, but I watched it a lot for some reason. And Devil in a Blue Dress came out in 95. And that was right on the heels of Philadelphia and The Pelican Brief, which both came out in 93. So, yeah, like you're right. And Denzel, I don't know if this is true for you or not, but he's always older than I expect him to be. Like when I think of him in The Pelican Brief and in Philadelphia and shit, I don't think he's like 39, 40, And he's 41 in Crimson Tide and Virtuosity. That surprises me. So it's not like he would be noticeably older than Brad Pitt was as that character. So
no, I don't think so.
So
I wouldn't struggle at all.
Do you think it would have been a similar dynamic between him and Somerset if it had been Denzel? Would it have been more of a more of like a
I think
compatriot thing than
I think the fact that he's 10 years older than Brad Pitt, I don't think that would have played that way on screen. I think it would have been pretty similar in that, like, he's clearly younger than Morgan Freeman. And so that's the, that's going back to your buddy cop analysis. You know, there's older cop. Oh, God, this would be the most depressing buddy cop movie of all time.
Yeah, no, but it is, too. And that's what we talked about this before. Cop movies lend themselves to this because so often cops are partners. You know, it's like a marriage. It's just it's good for this kind of storytelling, and it's good to pit. It's a good way to jam opposites together, odd couples, right? And yeah, and you really get that.
I think it would have been a similar dynamic. I really do.
Do you think it would have been more of a like at certain times you do get the feeling that Somerset sees him a younger version of himself in Mills. He talks about a wife that he had when him and Tracy sit down and have that conversation at the diner. Gwyneth.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
It's a great scene. It's a great setup for the rest of the movie, and it's all of Somerset's characters really right there. So he is thinking of Mills as sort of a second chance maybe for himself. Not that he's very optimistic about it. Do you think that would have come through a little bit more if it had been Denzel? Because I can't help but notice, like, Somerset is the only black guy in this whole movie. Like, he's just surrounded by white dudes.
Yeah.
Including his boss, which is Arlie Ermey, who was an awesome actor, and I loved him in this. He has a small part, but just like John C. McGinley in this, they're just like fucking perfect. Great. And yeah, the part where when Arlie Ermey answers the phone.
This isn't even my desk.
My desk. I told him, I met him a couple times, and I actually got to talk to him one time.
You told me about it. Yeah. That's awesome.
And I actually got to tell him how much I liked him in Seven. I remember saying, "Oh, no one ever brings that one up." That was a lot of fun.
That's great.
You look at that guy's filmography sometimes. He popped up in the weirdest movies, man.
Yeah, he did have a weird little career.
Saving Silverman. Have you ever seen that?
I have.
So fucking good. He's a good one. Twisted and funny in that. All right, so I guess back to my question.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I can pin down what exactly would have been different, but especially looking at the dynamic between Somerset and Mills. I think, to me, I just look at Denzel at that point in his career and what I'd seen him in, what I knew him from. And I just think about what he would have brought to that role to make it a little bit more, little more complex. And like this, again, Brad Pitt plays a great part. But I think to one part, the scene at the very end when he's wrestling with like he's got the gun on Kevin Spacey and he knows what's in the box. Oh God. He knows what's in the box. I can't stand the way he delivers that, like, oh God. You know,
I
a lot of people like it.
I'm with you, but I'm not. All right. Like
I think Denzel was a bit more nuanced, and I can boil it down to a frame in my head. The frame where he's got the gun on Kevin Spacey, and he's making his like crying face, and then he looks down and away, and looks back and just goes back into crying grimace. And I just think right there in that moment, I think Denzel knows what to do with his face in a scene like that. In addition to all the other things that I think he would have brought to it, I don't know. I just think he's right for that part in a way that Brad Pitt, just kind of fell a little bit short.
All right. I hear you. And I used to hate the way Brad Pitt delivered that line too. The "oh God" thing, right? And then at some point I watched it again, and I got it for some reason that time around. And I was just like, yeah.
Well, what changed?
I don't know. I think I just realized that, at this point in the story, he's literally been through so much shit. He's seen so much weird shit. And he's like being asked to accept the impossibly awful, like personally now. and it's just like it's not supposed to be like anguished or tortured. It's supposed to be just like what the fuck,
Defeated.
man? Like, what the fuck? You know, like, come on, God, right? Like, and when I looked at it that way, I'm like, all right, it was a little bit of a weird choice, but it makes more sense when I look at it that way. And I always liked the way he looked down in that shot, and like I always liked how his arm with the pistol never moves. It's just his head and his eyes. And then the wonderful little bit of editing that they do in that shot too, when they just show the flash of his wife, and you know that it's in his head, right? You know it's him remembering her for the first time, knowing she's dead. And immediately you have the reaction that Somerset has all over again. You know, you're just like, oh, fuck, he's going to do it. He's going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And he
John Doe has the upper hand.
And it's a legendary scene. It's a legendary ending.
Oh, it's incredible.
You know, it's incredible. And and this is also, I think this goes back to a time too when I didn't really like Brad Pitt as much. He grew on me as an actor over the years, like kind of the way Tom Cruise did. And I think that colored it. I mean, this was his first, this was during his spate of movies where he was like, I'm a serious actor. Everyone believe me. And
right.
Without this, I don't know if he breaks that barrier as easily. Because, I mean, before this, he had his big breakout in Thelma and Louise, right? Which was back in... when the hell was that? 91, all the way back in 91. He didn't do shit that was notable until the following year. He did A River Runs Through It, which was kind of an ensemble piece. And then he did California with a K, which is a great movie, but nobody saw it. Nobody really remembers it, oddly enough, which is a fucking shame.
You recommended that. I've never seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
Great. It's excellent. He's so fucking weird and twisted.
It's on the
great.
list.
And I think that it didn't play as well because he's not very attractive in it. He's pretty fucking ugly on purpose.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a beard. He drools. He's got this horrifying cracker accent. It's fucking. He's a serial killer. So you know, it's
yeah, that doesn't help.
Yeah, he's not very likable. He beats the shit out of Juliette Lewis a lot.
That doesn't help.
And then that same year, he was in True Romance as Floyd.
Man, he was great.
We loved him. Remember when we realized that was him when we first started watching that movie? We're like, is that fucking Brad Pitt smoking out of a honey bear? Is that what that is?
What does he ask him to? He asked him to bring home something. He's like, get some cleaning products.
Yeah, that's the thing he tacks on to the end. And some cleaning products. And that's he's like, fucking condescend me, man. I'll fucking have you killed.
Fuck kill you.
But
what a goofy role.
So between A River Runs Through It and Interview with the Vampire in 94, he didn't really do much. But then 94, he did Interview, Legends of the Fall, and then the following year in 95, he had Seven and one of your favorites, 12 Monkeys.
Oh, what a run.
Both in 95. So this was right in the middle of his big breakout. And I got to say, I think Seven, of that group, it was the most popular box office-wise. And I think it was the most widespread success. Like, everybody saw Seven. Everyone knows Seven. It became one of those movies you had to watch. Yeah.
You saw it, and then you went to all your friends who were like, oh, my God, I saw this fucked up movie. You got to watch it.
It was the right timing for it because everyone was into twist movies. Silence of the Lambs had made it like serial killers in vogue. It was a different take on a serial killer movie, which was already getting to be difficult at the time. And it had a great cast, tremendous cast. I mean, Kevin Spacey, too, as John Doe was fantastic. He's such a creepy bastard because he
was great.
Apparently is a creepy bastard, but hey, whatever. We get the movies out of it.
Maybe he's been method acting this whole time.
Maybe he just hasn't been acting. That's what and Okay, so say he hadn't done this. Say Denzel hadn't turned it down. What was Denzel doing at the time?
When did Fallen come out?
Fallen was a bit later. Fallen came, but not much. Fallen was in '98. I thought the same thing too, because a detective, kind of a tight little story,
Yeah.
It was
What
very
about?
similar.
Yeah. What was Denzel doing?
Well, '95 he had Virtuosity came out. I think we said Devil in a Blue Dress and Crimson Tide, and he was coming off the Oscar winner Philadelphia. So, I mean, Devil in a Blue Dress is kind of important. It's a good movie. Crimson Tide was a huge hit for him. Again, a broad audience hit. And Virtuosity was kind of a blockbuster rental kind of hit, right? So I don't know, man. I say, he replaces Virtuosity with Seven. Crimson Tide, Seven, and Devil in a Blue Dress is a hell of a year. Sandwiched between Philadelphia and Courage Under Fire, which came out in '96.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Both
That's a good movie.
Oscar caliber movies and shit. And that was Matt Damon's first movie. So I don't know, man. Career wise, I think he should be sorry he didn't take it. It probably would have been good for him. Not that he needed it in the end, but
yeah, you know what? I never really thought about it in terms of what he was doing at the time and where he was. I have the benefit of hindsight. Hindsight's 20/20, and I just know what I've seen him in and what he can do. And I think another scene I think of is Training Day, right? When you get this different side of Denzel, that you get villain Denzel, right? And he's talking to Ethan Hawke in the car, and it's this constant stream of just shit talk to this guy to ruffle his feathers. And it takes me back to that scene when they're driving John Doe out to the spot, to cater to his demands. And I'm thinking oh man, I've already seen Denzel berate someone in a car, and I could totally see him in that scene, just biting back the urge to take this guy's head off in the back of the car. I don't know. I just think it would have worked.
No, he has.
And again,
this
only works with hindsight.
Yeah, Denzel had the anger,
he would be able to
especially
flip
at
that
age,
switch.
Too. Yeah, and you saw it in Glory. He that simmering rage. He definitely could do that. I'm thinking about. I watched it recently after you told me about this idea, and I imagined Denzel as Brad Pitt, as Mills through the whole thing, and I didn't dislike what I was imagining, and I kind of got the feeling Mills does this this hesitation thing. I think it's supposed to add to the youthfulness of his character, or the inexperience. He doesn't really commit to what he's going to say sometimes, and there's a beat. He gives conversations a beat, and it almost gives it this awkwardness, whereas Somerset is very even, very controlled, knows exactly what he's saying.
He hasn't decided what he's going to say.
Yeah,
before he starts talking.
Yeah, and I wonder if it was Denzel, if there would have been a better rhythm to those conversations, because he is so good with the timing. And there's that one particular scene where they're in the car, and Mills is telling Somerset about that raid that he went on, that knockdown where the cop got shot. He asks him if he ever had to shoot anyone. I think he asks Somerset, and that was and he goes and tells that story. I never really particularly liked Brad Pitt's delivery for that. I don't know, something about it came off as
I think
hokey.
he's trying to downplay it.
I know, and the decision he made was to make it kind of downplay it, so that because it's hard for the character to talk about, so he just kind of it's like a throwaway almost, so you can tell it hurts.
I think he thinks it's a big deal for him, but he plays it down for Somerset because he's trying to not to make
That
it
too.
such a huge
Yeah.
deal. Yeah, that's how I saw it.
Either way, I don't know if it works. And we're talking like these are nitpicky things. Like we're talking individual scenes that could have been better out of this, rather excellent movie. So it's not like we're saying Brad Pitt didn't do a great job as Mills. It's just
it's not
fun.
so much that it's fun to think about, and it's not so much that I think like, oh, Denzel would have been way better. It's just as soon as I read it, I had a complete picture of what that character would look like in Denzel's hands.
It makes a lot of sense.
It didn't require a whole lot of analysis. You could throw another actor's name out there, and I would really struggle to kind of like, how sometimes you see someone in a role, and it's hard to imagine anyone else playing it.
Sure.
I think it's a testament to Denzel that I had no trouble imagining him in that role. Thought, wow, that would have been really good, despite the fact that there was already a great performance attached to it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I had it fully formed in an instant.
I think it helps that we've seen him play adjacent roles, similar roles, and we've also seen him play such a wide range of roles too. That we know he could do it, and he's come close. Like we said in Fallen, there was it had supernatural elements to it, but he was a pretty regular detective in that. Training Day, cop.
Even Training Day, yeah.
He's played a cop I don't know how many times. Ricochet, I think he's a cop or an investigator in Devil in a Blue Dress. There's another, too, the one with... I can't think of
newer?
it. No, it's an older one. It's the dude from John Lithgow is the bad guy in it.
Cliffhanger.
Yes, that was it. No, I think I might be thinking of Ricochet. I don't know, but he was a cop in Virtuosity.
He was in a newer one. He was in that movie, The Little Things.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
That had Rami Malek and Jared Leto.
Jared Leto, yeah. I kind of like Jared Leto in that. Gut. I kind of like the weird voice he put on for that. That was a perfect role for him. That movie was a little bit of a mess, but. I don't know. I watched it twice. Yeah. I enjoyed it. He was a cop in The Bone Collector, even though he was paralyzed.
That's right. That was a good movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie. Yeah, and he had such a great career. Now, it's a lot of fun to think about. So, would he have had a mustache? He was rocking the stash in a bunch of movies back then. Would that have? It would have been.
I don't
cool
think so.
No,
I don't think so.
Somerset gets the mustache. Okay.
Somerset gets the mustache.
Yeah, you can make him look younger anyway. Okay. So
here's an interesting question too. If you replace Denzel, do you also have to replace, or should you replace Gwyneth Paltrow?
In 1995, they probably would have. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I'll say that. They probably would have. I mean, obviously, you don't have to. I think it still would totally. She could totally.
No, definitely not.
It could totally work. They could totally have chemistry. I think she was good for the role. Honestly, I think anyone could have really done that role, though. I don't think there wasn't that much meat to it. Anyway,
she was good for that role, but I think a lot of people would have been good for it.
Yeah, Gwyneth did a good job with what they gave her to work with. But yeah, it couldn't have really been anyone holding into that. And you never get to see her fucking head in the box, and it's bullshit. They made the prop, apparently.
Jesus.
Did you know this?
No.
They made the prop.
Made a Gwen head?
Yeah, they made a Gwen head, and the prop was actually used in another movie.
Oh God!
Yeah, she dies early on. I think it's Contagion. I think it was Contagion.
Oh,
with Jude Law.
Saw that.
Is Jude Law in that? If Jude Law is in that, then that's the one I'm thinking of.
I don't know.
Hold on.
Contagion, I thought came out much later.
Hold on. Google break. Google break, because Dave's brain is pudding.
Google break.
I'm looking. Gwyneth. Yeah, it's Contagion. I was right.
Where?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, 7.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
My man. My man.
I imagine that a couple times too. You know. Okay. All right. So you made a big bladed dildo. And what? What was the plan then? What was the plan then?
Jesus. Dude, I swear, I picture him like in the car. He's like, okay. So you got your copy of Guns and Ammo and you're rubbing peanut butter all over yourself. And do you know, like, actually, yeah, I am fucking crazy.
That would be, you're right.
him.
He would be great in that.
I could
That would
see
be
him
wonderful.
eating that up. He would have chewed that scene up.
A bit more confident, I think. The dynamic would have been different with him in Somerset because Denzel would have made it a more, not that Mills was soft spoken or anything the way Pitt did it. I think he would have made it a little bit more bombastic, just a little bit, little bigger.
I think Mills,
he would have done it a little bigger.
Brad Pitt's Mills was trying to convince Somerset of something.
Prove himself.
Denzel's
Always
Mills,
proving himself. Confidence.
Denzel's Mills would have just told him, like, nope, this is how it is. He's not trying to convince him. He is laying it down.
I think he would have been overconfident because that would have worked for the character.
That's a good character choice.
Yeah, for him to be a bit
role.
overconfident, and then it leads to just that simmering rage, that anger and that disdain. That overconfidence breeds disdain, and it would have made sense. It would have worked. It really would have worked. And I keep saying this, and it keeps getting a little bit more true as time goes on, which is concerning. But there's going to come a day when things like this are like what people watch. Like there's going to come a day when AI can spit out a version of Seven with Denzel Washington playing Mills at the right age, using all of his past performances.
It just spits it out?
Yeah. I mean, Christ, it's doing
terrifying.
Things that are kind of like that in little bits and snippets and pieces already. And despite the shit that AI can do, it's really primitive still. It's baby shoes shit.
Yeah, like Will Smith eating spaghetti.
Exactly. It still don't look right. Still can't get fingers right. It's still all fucked up. But pretty soon, it's going to get good enough that it can do shit like that. And then there's going to be all kinds of... I mean, they're already seeing it. There were legal challenges when they bring people back from the dead to be in movies. And then, I think Peter Cushing's estate...
Oh, yeah, when they deep faked them into Rogue One.
Yeah, Grand Moff Tarkin. There was some kerfuffle there. They've
you
done
may
it more
fire
than once.
when you're ready.
So right now it's a laborious process that doesn't look right, but someday, real soon,
doesn't.
it's
We
gonna...
just saw it in Romulus, and it looked terrible.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be a fucking android too, and that didn't look right.
You had ways to mask it, and they just didn't. They just went for it.
Yeah.
And it looks bad.
Sometimes it looks better than other times. I mean, I thought Princess Leia looked totally fake in the Star Wars.
Oh, God, yeah. She looked awful.
When they brought Luke back in Mandalorian, it was fucking awesome. But when my man started talking, he didn't look real.
No.
He looked good until then.
He gave the game away.
Until he started talking. Like, they can't get that mouth movement right. Or if they get the mouth movement right, the rest of the face is just dead. Like, it's like floating on the face. Like, they just can't. That's a CG problem. That's not an AI problem. That's just a general CG problem. But it's going to get better. And AI is going to make it easier. And so what would you see it? Like imagine at some point you can pay for a service. It's like Netflix, but you can enter prompts like that. Like, give me a version of Seven with Denzel Washington playing Mills, made in 1995, and it does it. Like, would you be into something like that, or would it just be like a?
I mean, I don't know. I think if someone made it and it was available, I would watch it. I don't know if I would pay for that service to just like spit it out.
No, but would you be
I don't think
curious?
I would. I'd be curious. Yeah, sure. I'd be curious. I'd be like, yeah, give me 7 with Denzel Washington as Mills and Bill Cosby as Somerset. Let me see.
Oh
what that
my
looks
God.
like.
That's fucked up. So who's John Doe?
Jesus, I don't know.
Bradley
Buddy
Cooper.
Hackett.
Buddy Hackett? What the fuck?
I don't know.
Cedric the Entertainer.
We
This is John
can say
Doe.
whatever we want.
Make Brad Pitt John Doe.
Make Bill Cosby John Doe. That would make
That
more
makes
sense.
more sense. Yeah.
Now, what I want to do is get people to talk about me for years to come. Zippity bibbity bop boo.
That's good. What's in the box? This is Jello pudding. It's just tons of pudding.
It's a bunch of Jello jigglers.
You do that too well, dude. I didn't know you had a Bill Cosby in your repertoire.
I don't think I did either.
I can't do the cause. I could never do the cause.
It's probably better that way.
You know, I used to listen to his comedy records when I was a kid, like literal LPs that my dad had.
Oh, yeah.
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 Like-
And that's fine because none of us knew yet.
Like, why is there air? That was what one of them that used to do this. It was a bit. It was the entire side of a record. It was called the Chicken Heart. It was
Chicken Heart?
Yeah, it was about him as a kid. Like, he used to tell all these stories about family shit from when he was a kid, like kind of like Eddie Murphy did, but not dirty. And
Right.
it was about how he got the shit scared out of him by a radio play about a giant chicken heart that kept growing and eating things.
Oh, God. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, yeah. It's a weird little story. It's a weird little story. I don't know. Those records were interesting if you were 5. And it kept him at arm's distance. You didn't have to hang out with the cause.
No.
Man, he was fucking everywhere when we were kids. Everyone tries to forget. Dude was everywhere.
Oh, my God. Yeah, the Cosby Show was huge.
The Cosby Show alone, but then he was on like at least one ad at every ad break for something. And then he still did movies too. They were all terrible, but he still did movies. You know,
Like Clifford 7 or whatever.
Clifford, Jesus Christ, yeah. Yeah, and I remember one where he was like a ghost dad, I think it was called.
Ghost Dad. Yeah, I
Ghost
remember
Dad.
Ghost Dad.
Jesus God. Oh, man. Yeah, all right. Bill Cosby is Somerset.
No. He's got to be. He's John Doe. Oh, see, this is why I don't want this thing because in a matter of moments we came up with this nightmare scenario of a 7 movie.
Yeah, but you
that I could spit out.
You don't have to go that far. You don't
Yeah, I
have
know,
to be
but-
that ridiculous. So what
Right.
we're actually doing is with this is we're creating a list of shit to feed to the algorithm once AI takes over.
to the AI overlord.
Yeah, once it allows us to live peaceful and entertaining lives, it'll give us entertainment that we want. And we'll have a list. And it will know us through our podcast. Thank you, robots. We love you. Please don't kill us. We like Terminator. We really do. All right.
Not. Jesus.
All right. So I guess so. A thumbs up or thumbs down. Would watch Denzel replacing Brad Pitt in 7 if it were possible. We would watch
I'd
it.
watch it.
We'd watch it.
I would totally watch it.
I'd watch it.
I think you would crush it.
Crush it. Crush it. All right. One last question about it.
Yeah.
Other than what you already said, how do you think he would have played the ending differently?
Ah, man. See, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I think he would have played. I think he would have. There would have been a bit more nuance to it.
It's in the box.
Because you could see Brad Pitt just go off the edge, go over the rails. There's a moment when he stops and thinks, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna kill him." I think Denzel would have chewed that scene a little bit more, and again, like acting without talking, acting without delivering lines. Think Michael Corleone when he's in the restaurant. thinking about how he's got to kill those two people as the train's going by, like that type of moment. I think that scene would have stretched a bit more, and I think he would have been. I don't know if he would have been like as over the top and screaming. That's where I see that going.
Yeah, he does that angry crying thing really, really good. Denzel does.
Yeah,
That's probably what he would have turned on for the shooting part. I think he would have done the same thing though in the car at the very end. The stunned, just fucking out of it.
just vacant expression.
Yeah, I could see him doing that really good. Like you're right. That's one of those roles where I can truly see him in almost every scene. Yeah.
Yeah, you just edit him in your brain, and it works.
I like it. All right. This is it. You heard it here first. 7 Redux. Denzel Washington.
7 Redux.